What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Mike here with another quick video. So this one is kind of like a follow from last week where I was talking about, meal plans and eating and things like that. This is talking about the differences between getting skinny, getting lean, and getting tone. Um, Now, oftentimes you hear people like, "Yeah, I want to lose weight, I want to get skinny, da 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 da." I'm going to kind of explain to you what the differences between those three things, what makes sense, things like that, so on and so forth. The first thing I want to say is there's a difference between getting skinny and getting lean. Getting skinny is just losing weight, just losing a raw number. Okay, so no, if you jump on a scale, let's say you're 200 pounds. Getting skinny is going from 200 to 190. Doesn't matter if it's body fat, water, muscle, it's just losing a number. So getting skinny is just losing a number. Getting lean is, again, let's say you're going from 200 to 190 again, just keep the same numbers. However, you want to maintain as much muscle as you can. So you're losing more body fat, potentially water weight, but you're losing more body fat and water weight, and you're maintaining as much muscle as you possibly can. That's the difference. That's one of the big differences between getting lean and getting skinny. Now, getting tone. I'm gonna let you guys know there's no such thing as getting tone. It's a fad term. It's a term used to sell supplements, meal plans, programs like that. All tone is another word for getting lean. One of the reasons I think they made that terminology is to sell more programs to a bigger demographic range. Because typically speaking, no offense, but typically speaking, you hear, most of my ladies saying, "I want to get tone. I want to get tone. I don't want to get too bulky." You're not. So tone, you pretty much maintaining a good amount of muscle mass. Getting tone is maintaining a good amount of muscle mass while you're dropping body fat percentage. That's all it is. Again, there's no such thing as getting tone. It's you're just leaning out. It's literally the same thing. One's not for guys, one's not for girls. It's literally the same thing. If you see, oh, skinny tea this and tone that, you're literally just losing body fat and you're maintaining a good amount of muscle. And yes, my ladies need a good amount of muscle. Particularly as you're getting older, it's really helpful to, for your bone health, for your bone density, just protect your joints, protect your bones, things like that. I can get into a whole lesson about that later on. I think I may have talked about that. To double check. But my ladies need muscle. So, should you get tone? I mean, again, there you go. Should you get lean, or should you get skinny, or should you just lose weight? Depends on what your goals are. So, if your goals are to just lose a raw number, again, just pay attention to losing that raw number. Again, typically, if you are more of a person with obesity, I would say don't worry about getting lean. I would just say just lose weight. Just lose weight. Just the raw number. Because again, that's another thing. That's another misconception, is that people who have obesity, they actually have a lot of muscle. Let's think about it. It's like, let's say if your average body weight is supposed to be 170 pounds, and you're walking around at 300 pounds. That's an extra 130 pounds that you're wearing on you. That's resistance training. That's a lot of weight. So you have to have a good amount of muscle to maintain that. Now, is the muscle shown? No, because they have a lot of body fat covering it. However, they do have a lot of strength to carry that much weight, that much raw weight around for however long they've been at that more obese state, if you will. So again, general population, again, I'll say no, there's different ranges, if you will. For the general population who is, let's say if you are, a person with obesity, I would say just worry about losing the raw number. You're going to keep some muscle, but just worry about losing the raw number. Just worry about losing that, just dropping down from 300 to whatever that goal weight is. And as you're dropping weight, you'll see the muscle start to pop up and start popping a little bit more because you're getting rid of the cover, if you will. If you are a person who is closer to like more like just like the overweight range, or just slightly overweight range, again, there are different metrics, different numbers, that are including those different categories. But if you are a person who's just more of that overweight range, then I'll say, yeah, don't worry about leaning out a little bit. If you want to lose just that raw weight, you just want to lose weight, there's nothing wrong with that. But you also do want to maintain as much muscle as you can, because muscle is active. It does help you, burn a little more calories, the more muscle you have. So having muscle is important for everybody. I'm not saying you have to be big and bulky. I'm not saying everybody has to look like they're about to step on like the Olympia stage, which is one of the biggest bodybuilding competitions in the world. I'm not saying that everyone has to look like that. I'm not saying that everyone has to look like a professional athlete. However, having a certain amount of muscle is healthy for everybody. But again, as I say, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Having too much muscle can be a bad thing, because depending on how much muscle you have, or the supplements that you take, too much muscle is a bad thing. Again, your body is not made to hold a certain amount of weight. There's a saying that I heard: just because something can be done doesn't mean it should be done. Just because you can technically fit in a certain shirt or certain pants or shoes doesn't mean you should. Just because the body can hold a certain amount of weight doesn't mean it should. Because again, the more mass that you have, the more pressure it puts on your joints, the more pressure it puts on your heart, on all these other different organs and things like that. And it's hard work. More pressure puts on your lungs, all sorts of things. So just because something can happen doesn't mean it should happen. Does that make sense? So again, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Does it look cool, walking around like the Hulk and everything like that? Depending on who you are, it can look pretty cool. And I know I can understand why certain people do certain things to their physiques. Whether it's wanting to be what we call a mass monster, whether it's wanting to look like you're just on what we call bear mode, which is just like a big burly person that has a good amount of muscle, but they're just also just a big massive individual. Some people like to have like the more superhero look, like big, jacked, chiseled, and low body fat. Some people want to look like that, like an athlete. So like a good amount of muscle, but super lean, things like that. Just depends on what each individual wants. I can understand why people want to have their bodies looking a certain way. Again, to me, it makes sense, because this is the world that I'm in. So it makes sense, whether it's talking from the depression world, talking from the overweight world, talking from the gym rat world. I've been in the former worlds. I'm in the current world. So I can understand why people want to look a certain way and want to do certain things to their bodies, so on and so forth. But again, getting like losing weight, getting skinny, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Be my guest. Again, you're just worrying about that raw number, just getting that raw number down from whatever it is to less than where it is right now. That is losing weight. That will help you get skinny. Getting lean is getting that raw number from where it is here to down here, but maintaining as much muscle as you possibly can. That's the difference, and that's why you'll see a lot of people, particularly like people in like I like to say the weighted sports, the weighted sports. That's the best way I can put it. So whether it's bodybuilding, like the sports have weight classes, bodybuilding, your wrestlers, things like that. Some of your martial artists, people like that are in weights. They have like weight classes. That's why you see them. They have different sweatsuits if they're trying to like lose, specifically water weight. We measure our food where it gets a little meticulous. It gets a little boring sometimes. It gets a little monotonous. It's just like, bro, again, they gotta weigh it out again. Yeah, you gotta weigh it out again, and it works. There's a reason why it's been around for so long, and people have been weighing their food and measuring things out and getting a certain amount of grams, per grams per, like all these different things. There's a reason why we measure things out whenever we're trying to get lean. Because again, getting lean is maintaining as much muscle as you can while losing as much body fat as you can in a healthy-ish way, and also, having your physique look a specific way for the sport that you're training for. Because again, each sport has different, best one to say is requirements for being optimal, if you will. Some is just like, hey, I just need to be a certain number, and then people put on as much muscle as they can, and then they'll just cut down to what they need to, so they're at that raw number. Sometimes it's how chiseled you are, so how lean that you can get. I've heard people getting down to like 4% body fat stepping on stage. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I just had the word just slipped in my head, but I think a guy needs at least 3% body fat for health, if I'm not mistaken. So there are people who get very, very close to that level. It takes a lot to get down there. It's not for everybody. And then, as I said, for the general population, nothing wrong with getting skinny. If you want to be skinny. Do with what your body what you want to do. I'm just here to share knowledge and share information. I would say it is healthier to get lean compared to getting skinny, because you're maintaining as much muscle as you can. Now, you have to be as extreme as I am, or some of the other gym bros or gym sisters out there, or like people who sit on stage. You have to be that's no. You don't have to be that extreme. I don't recommend being that extreme unless you have to for your sport. The sun just randomly came out mad bright. I'm sorry, y'all. There we go. Yeah, the sun just randomly just got mad bright. That was weird. But I don't recommend that unless your sport requires that. It's not bad to get leaner. However, when you start getting to like the mid single digits and like the mid to lower single digits, it gets kind of tough. I'm not even anywhere close to that, but just watching people's training styles and methodologies and things like that, it can be extremely tough. So I don't recommend that. Again, guys, low teens, high single digits, perfectly fine. That's also a pretty healthy range. So what I mean by low teens is like sub 14% body fat. If you're looking for specific numbers, if you're like, hey, I'll say 7%, which is also still really lean, really lean. 7-8% to that 14 range, you should be good. Ladies, you have I forgot the number. I think it's 7%. Body fat percentage higher than guys, if I'm not mistaken. So for my ladies, again, super lean. It's still like that 15% is super lean for ladies. And ladies, they have higher body fat percentages naturally because giving birth, things of that nature. And again, just how the body is created, women have more essential body fat than men do. So, ladies, you don't want to get too lean, because then that can mess with your hormones, that can mess with all that other stuff. Again, I'm not sure ladies want to hear a guy talk about that stuff, because again, I'm not a lady, so I can't speak from a lady's perspective. So there are some, of course, there's some great ladies that talk about fitness and education and things like that, nutrition and exercise and what does it look like. So I would say definitely follow one of those ladies if you want that information from a lady's perspective, who can give a lot more insight, that first-hand perspective on what being lean does to your body, to your hormones and things like that. Again, I'm not telling a lady what to do with her body. That's not me. yeah, but like I said, just want to come on and just give you guys a little quick video about the differences between getting skinny, getting lean, getting tone. Again, another quick breakdown. Getting skinny is just losing a raw number. It's just getting down from 200 number to 190. Getting lean is getting that raw number down from 200 to 190 while maintaining as much lean muscle as you possibly can. Getting tone is not a real thing. It's a made up term to sell more programs, more supplements, more specialized supplements to help you get tone and get that sexy look. All getting tone is another word for getting lean. That's literally all it is. So if you see someone that says, "Oh, you'll get tone," it's literally the same thing. Tone is not in the context of fitness. Tone is a word used to sell programs. That's all it is. If I burst your bubble, my apologies, but I just want to give you guys the information. But again, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, drop them down in the chat. I love to chat with you guys. If you like my stuff, I got playlists. So watch some of the playlists. If it's about exercise, you got the exercise playlist. If you want to watch my journey through school, I have the doctoral journey. You can check that playlist out. If you just want to know about me career-wise and things like that, I have a day in the life of playlist. You can check it out. Again, let me know what you guys want. If there's anything else that you're kind of curious about, let me know. But until next time, later.